Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Tipac EasyScan demonstration for getting documents into Xerox Docushare. This is the second of three. The first webinar for those that were on was mainly to do with key from image, so capturing documents via a multifunctional device and then displaying them and keying the information and for indexing, and also automated process for barcodes and even patch code separation to do some automated indexing as well. The second one is a deeper look, and this goes into structured, unstructured, semi-structured documents such as invoices. So this demonstration is for integration into Xerox Docushare with EasyScan taking off our template of a structured document, automating a semi-structured document, and also doing line items for invoice. So basically we're showing you here how invoices can be processed from an accounts payable solution into Xerox Docushare. Ming, our pre-sales manager, will now take over and do a quick demonstration for you. Any questions, please type them into the box below and we'll answer them either as we go along or save them up to the end, depending. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob. So what we're going to take you through today is three demonstrations. I'll start off with what we normally do with accounts payable is to identify our major suppliers, and by doing that we would create a set template, so a structured invoice for these suppliers. Going by your typical kind of 80-20 rule, where 80% of your suppliers you can usually identify by your top 20 suppliers, so 80% of your invoices, we would then create some zonal OCR structured templates for these suppliers for the users to quick and easily batch up these invoices per supplier, run them through, and the confidence rates on those will be extremely high. So we can quickly process your top suppliers and then go through what we call unstructured invoices, where your other 20%, your miscellaneous suppliers, we can run through our discovery process. So I'll firstly take you through the structured invoice, which also would be a accounts receivables type demo. What you can see on my screen at the moment is the EasyScan desktop. With EasyScan desktop, we present users with a nice large job button interface. With this desktop, you can quick and easily click on a button that you want to process the documents with, and then EasyScan will run through the extraction process. All the configurations on the buttons in the back end, the end user doesn't need to see or know what configurations you have set up. They just need to click on the button, either import a document, so we can import existing electronic documents, or scan paper documents directly. So here I've brought in three invoices. Like I said, they're structured invoices. We know exactly how they look like. So what we're doing with these invoices is we've defined the zone to pick up the company name, invoice number, the date, and the balance, the totals. When we process these invoices, this one in particular, we can run through automatically. So it will go through with the predefined zones, extract the information, and with the metadata is extracted, we're actually going to push it directly into Docushare. The image and the metadata has now been uploaded and defined in Docushare. So if I go into my Docushare system, okay, I have a invoices folder. Sorry, it's actually in the zonal OCR folder. And if I sort by date edited, you can see here the three invoices that we've saved. And we'll just choose the top one, XYZ PTY, the invoice number, and the date. So if we open up one of the invoices, okay, there's our invoice. So When we save documents into Docushare, we can save it in various formats as well. So we can save it just as a raw image, TIFF format, could be a PDF, but we can also make it a text searchable PDF as well. Okay. So that's just one of the examples. Again, great for your major suppliers. What we're going to take you through now is our discovery process. Why we call it discovery is because we're looking for invoice information that could be anywhere on the page. So the invoices which I'm going to bring in now, as you can see, will be in every shape, every format. There's no fixed area that we can actually define to pick up the invoice information. With discovery, we set up a number of rules to pick up the information that we require, and that could be anywhere on a page. So for example, something like invoice number, we look for the word invoice, INV, invoice number, invoice NO, invoice hash, a combination of keywords which you can add to, and then we can look for the value to the right of that keyword or below that keyword. Things like the dates generally fall into a pattern. So we can set up what we call regular expressions to look for any date format. Like we have here, April 29, 2008. We can look for that date format and translate it to the format that Docushare requires, which is the short date format. Similar with invoice number, PO number, we can pick up all this information and it doesn't have to be in a set place on the document. So let's run this through in a manual mode first. Bear in mind, this can also be run automatically with exception handling. So if any of these required fields are either not picked up or are not validated, so for example, we pick up the supply name or PO number or VAT number, we can actually do an ODBC lookup to our supplier database, match up to make sure that the supplier actually exists or the PO number exists. If it doesn't, we can actually trigger an exception and that can be processed manually. So here we're picking up a supplier name, invoice number, so all the key information, header information from the invoice date, total, and the last field, we're just using the supplier name as the invoice title. But what we can do for fields like the invoice title is actually use existing fields, so we can actually concatenate supplier name, invoice number, invoice date together in one field and use that as the title. Okay, so we've picked up the header information and here we'll submit the document, upload it into Docushare. That invoice has finished, so we'll go to the next invoice. Again, just running through this manually, but it definitely can be run as an automated job with exception handling. So again, these fields being extracted from the invoice. If there is an error, as you can see here, it's actually not being able to pick up the supplier name. What we can do is use this pencil tool. We actually call this the lasso tool. Lasso part of the page, and that will extract the information that we need. So again, it doesn't require the users to have to manually enter in all the information. There are tools to make this a faster process.
So there's a question, Ming. Someone's just put on. So can you actually, you're showing this being manually done, great, but can you actually automate the process, which you said you can, but can you send any that fail to an exceptions folder where someone would work on another workstation and just alter those?
Yes, so the exception handling, basically all the exception queue is saving into a folder, an exceptions folder, as you may say it. And that can be worked on at a later stage, so it could be done at the end of the day, or it could be picked up from another person that's also got EasyScan and process just the exceptions. So they can basically this job can be run automatically on one workstation, and any exceptions can be distributed and worked on remotely. The other great thing about EasyScan is we do have integrations to other systems, about 25 other systems, including some accounting packages as tier 1 integrations. But we also do have integration into ODBC, so we can feed information not only into Docushare as we process the invoice, but the metadata can also be fed into another line of business system at the same time. So we can effectively upload the document into multiple systems by just running through one document. Okay, so I might just stop this process and show you the uploaded documents. So we've got a folder called supplier invoices, and here you can see our documents. What I'll do is actually go into the properties of the document. And you can see here, I've actually got some user-defined fields. Invoice date, oops, let's cancel this. Invoice date, invoice number, supplier name. And you can see that we've actually filled out this metadata from our extraction process. So we've got a really tight integration into Docushare. We've worked with Docushare for a number of years so that we're able to not only define the system fields, but also user-defined fields using the metadata extracted within EasyScan. Okay. So just continuing on from invoice processing, the next step that we have here, and a very powerful utility that we have introduced, is the line item extraction. So with line items, what we'll do is grab an invoice, and the invoice will be, with the invoice, we will extract, again, the header information, so the invoice number, the invoice date, the PO number, the supplier name. After that, we'll actually have EasyScan detect the line item information, extract it. We can actually manipulate the data as well, and then output the line item information into either CSV or an XML file with the format that you require. So it's the format you can actually change and customize. Okay, so we'll run through this invoice. And you can see here we're picking up firstly the header information, so the supplier name. Typically with supplier names, I wouldn't necessarily always try and pick up the supplier name from the invoice, because you're going to get information in logos. You're going to have the supplier name, basically supplier name not necessarily matching up with the supplier name on your system. So the best way usually to do this would be to pick up a VAT number or PO number, and then do a lookup into your supplier database, retrieve the supplier code, the accurate supplier name, and then apply that onto the document. Okay, so we've got the invoice number, invoice date, and we're picking up the total. So see here, the total was on the second page of the document, but we're still able to search on multiple pages and extract the information that we need. PO number, and then we'll go into the line item extraction. So here with the line item extraction, EasyScan is able to detect the grid, detect the columns that are inputted from the supplier, and it actually identifies the supplier from the list of suppliers that we've already identified previously. So here we've created what we call our input document for Herbert Walkers. Is able to detect Herbert Walkers based on the columns that we've set up. And the reasoning behind that is because you typically won't have, well, you'll never have columns from your vendors which are identical. So one vendor would have quantity as a label, another vendor would have QTY, quantity number, so and so. So what EasyScan attempts to do is match up the column headings with a set amount of column output headings. So no matter what the column headings are per invoice, you'll have one uniform output that you can use in your accounting package, in your line of business system.
So there's a question just come up, me. So does that, someone's just asked, so from the way the grid's laid out, it's able to automatically say that that invoice was a Herbert Walker's one and not, say, from ABC company. So is that able to auto detect that that is a Herbert Walker's invoice from that structure?
Sure, yes. So we've got our detection, I guess the way our technology works is we detect the grid, we detect the columns from the grids, and we try to match up previous invoices that we've already identified with the headings that the grid detection has picked up. So from that, we're able to identify who the supplier comes from. And based on the column headings, we can actually either keep the headings and match it up with the output columns, and we can also ignore columns that you don't actually require. So with line items, you're always going to get, from my experience, a lot of columns that you don't actually need to keep, because every vendor will display their own information or information that you don't necessarily need to type into your PO system or your accounting package. So you will ignore the items that you don't require and just keep the ones that you want. What we can do also in the grid detection is we can actually pass through the invoice information. So we have here invoice date, invoice number, PO number. This is good for updating your accounting package with this information. We can have lookup lists as well. So if you wanted to apply a GL code, a nominal code, cost center, we can actually have a lookup or drop down list for the users to apply that. The end users can type into this grid. The information shaded in yellow represents the OCR engine is not quite confident with what is picked up in this field. The users can actually identify where the information is, have a look into the grid, make sure that's correct, and continue on. The confidence level on this is pretty high at the moment. It's set to be 90%. So if it doesn't meet that criteria, it will flag it up as a warning, but it's not necessarily incorrect. Okay, and as this is a multiple page line item invoice, we can actually select to go to the next page. Again, it's picked up the grid on the second page. And once we're happy with this, one other thing also, with the price, we can actually do a matchup with the accumulated price from all the line items. If that has to match up the invoice total, we can actually do a validation step to make sure that it does match up before the users can continue on. So I found that to be one of the key items that's been asked of from line item process. Okay, we'll say okay. It's actually saved the line items as a field, and we'll submit the document. Okay, so we'll go into the output. Here we've got the image. I've just got the information in our local folder right now. So we've got the image. We've got the header information from the invoice. And then we have the line item information as well. So I've saved this as an XML document. You can see here it's included the header information. So we have the supplier name, invoice number, date, total, PO number. But then we have each individual line item in a separate node.
Someone just asked another question. So this can be run automatically based on the confidence levels. Would you necessarily recommend that, or would you say that it would be best, as people would normally key this kind of information in, I would think, into a finance system? Is it best to do one at a time, or is it safe to automate this process and only do the exceptions?
With line item information, because quite a lot of the times it's quite sensitive information and information that you want to get correct. So our recommendation is to still step through the grid item manually, just to do a QA check on each grid before uploading it, before saving the information. So yes, so that's our general recommendation, not to automate it, but run it in a, I guess, a semi-automated fashion where it will still pick up all the line information. So that's going to save a lot of keystroke for the end users, not to have to type in every single line, but it's more of a sanity check just to say, okay, that's all correct before proceeding on.
Yeah, so that's the ROI really, isn't it? It's to further on from that question is that if you've got someone who's spending a day typing in information from invoices, especially with a lot of line items, the fact that EasyScan can capture them, they're only checking what's right and only having to change any that aren't right, which saves them a lot of time, and then those people can be doing potentially more important jobs like gathering money in. So the ROI really is the time being saved in not having to type into a finance system all the information.
Yes, exactly right. So you think about all the information we're already able to extract just from the invoice that we just ran through. That would typically take a user maybe about 5 minutes to process just one invoice, looking at the amount of invoice line item information. So for them now to be able to automatically extract the information, but just run their eyes over making sure that the quantities are correct, the price is correct, and maybe the item code, that's going to save a great deal of time per invoice. Okay, well, these are the three kind of demonstrations that we wanted to show you on this session. If there's any questions, we'll have a look at that first.
I think we've answered most of the questions that have come through, unless you've got anything to add. But if anybody wants to type any now, we've got a couple of minutes left still. But so that's if not, that will be the end of session 2, and hopefully that shows you how powerful EasyScan can be for processing structured, semi-structured and unstructured documents into Docushare, and been even also to interrogate back-end systems for proof of things like PO numbers, and also to be able to interrogate other finance packages to upload financial information from what is effectively a paper image originally that we've scanned, and do all that automation for. So you can see that really there's lots of cost savings to be had for an organisation for their staff in actually automating a lot of this invoice processing.
Well, we'd like to thank you for attending, and if there's any questions, please email us, and we're here to help.
Yep. Thanks everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.